I made it. It's a beautiful day today. I'm back in my park, loving it. It's not too hot. It's a cool little breeze going. I love fall so much. I kind of low key wish she was fall all year long, but then I wouldn't appreciate it, I suppose. The message I have in my mind, I don't know if I'm gonna stick to it. Y'all know I divert and go on side streets, but I'm still feeling intently, deeply about our future as it pertains to our children. It's a, it is a gigantic decision for me to even consider going back into the counseling community. And I have to decide whether that's my ego or I'm beyond or still experiencing grief and hurt or pain from the experiences I had within it. What's preventing it? Me. Now, there are other barriers, but I feel so strongly about it at this particular point. Even if it's just my little self, I know that there are others who feel something. It gotta be about the fact that our children are most likely to leave this planet spiritually via violence more than anything else in this country. And sometimes in certain areas around the world. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, if I'm being candid, and I try my best to be candid when I'm on here. Being a bleeding heart is not always fun. I'm gonna go ahead and go on them and say it's never fun, unless there are moments in which you're able to be effective and help someone. That's when you get the most joy, I suppose. I know that's when I do. When I actually see results from feeling what I feel about any particular thing or topic or person. I've gone through different stages over and over and over again about this grief, anger, resentment. Because there are grown folks with the power to do something about it, but they care more about their pockets and their popularity than they do about actually making some change. And I can say that non hypocritically. I think that's where the anger comes from. Willing to sacrifice and give up something of yourself that you may never get back so that change can be permanent. That's why I don't understand the re-election part of politics sometimes. Because the first election is mostly about popularity and who said the right things. The second election is already starting to happen when the person's in office. But they want to make sure they don't ruffle too many feathers, so they can get that second election and solidify their name as someone who was popular enough to get elected twice or three times if you're talking about Congress. I think 4 years is enough. Because if it wasn't for the idea and concept of re-election, or maybe we should just make it a solid 8, and this pertains to the presidency, or one term or two terms. Yeah, I'm talking term limits. Because if we make everything about being electable, then what gets done? The reason why we're here with the violence that we experience on a regular basis through our news and our community is because so many people wanted to make sure that they're electable or that their pockets were fat enough that they ignored all of the signs that this is a problem and it's a growing problem and it's going to only get worse. To me, you're not a badass because you can take something that is inanimate like a weapon and harm somebody. You're a badass if you can create change that benefits not just yourself but everybody around you. See, that's the only badass that I recognize, honestly. You want to be a badass? Do that. There's nothing inherently good about being able to cache the most weapons. There's nothing good about that, because the concept dictates that I'm going to in some way be in a circumstance in which I have to take lives with these things. If you want to be a badass, because you can do that, let's see you learn how to do it with your bare hands. Oh, it's a butterfly. Sorry. Squirrel. Whenever I see a butterfly, I gotta stop and admire. And most of the people who were cashing these things and couldn't perform hand-to-hand combat to save their own lives. But you're gonna take an inanimate object and harm somebody with it. You can't fight your way like back in the day. So you can't fight your way out of a wet paper bag. Then you're gonna take an inanimate object and harm somebody with it. And advocate for more people to have that. There is not an all or nothing. We don't have to have a all or nothing concept or approach to this. We don't have to. We can do some common sense stuff. I know it's been called for before and it always fails. And the reason why it does is the reason I stated before. Re-electability and money. Look, I tried really hard. I tried really hard not to get pissed off nowadays. I don't avoid conflict, because conflict is inevitable in life. And everything is going to be sunshine and roses. But I avoid what I can avoid. Because conflict is not always necessary. One of those people, if I'm being honest, my anger reaches far. My disdain reaches far. And I know it. That means I must be responsible for it. This is really affecting me in a way that I wish it hadn't, or it wasn't, in a way. Again, that bleeding heart. I go to sleep, lay my head on the pillow and I think about it. And I wake up in the morning and I think about it. And I know it's like having a lot of homework, to me anyway. We can get all zen, do all this woo-woo stuff, get all spiritual, learn all the things we need to learn about religion, astrology, witchy stuff, all these things that are new agey, and that's just for you, I suppose. But it can be to help cultivate your community. We can grow all the plants, the organic plants that we perceived ourselves growing. That's just a side street. Let me take y'all on a side street. Because listen, I'm not saying that I'm poo-pooing or disagreeing with the concept and idea of homesteading or growing your own plants on your own land to eat more healthy. But understand, all this land is tainted until we all start working together and figure out how to make it untainted. So, it may be a tad bit cleaner, but it's not much cleaner than the food you get out of the grocery store. Why? Because all of the land in some way is tainted by something. So until we start learning to work together to make sure Mother Earth Gaia is cleaner, and stop using things and supporting, bug. No. I am outside in the park. These things happen. I don't want to kill it. It's just, I don't want it to bite me. It's one of those fire ants. Jumped up on the table. You ain't getting me. I can identify it's one of the warrior ones, so it definitely would leave a good amount of venom in me if it bit me. Anyway. But I digressed. But until we can understand that on all things that we want to change, including that, so we work together and clean up the earth in some kind of way and stop supporting businesses and things like this that are the biggest polluters, and what can we do? And it's like, well, we need things. We do need things, honestly. We need things. I'm not going to say I'm always the greenest person in the world. I do try from time to time. I try every day, actually, to be a little bit greener every day. whatever I can do. But creature comforts are creature comforts. Everything is connected in layers that is unsustainable at this particular point. You can call all you want or think someone's calling all you want. When I say call, I mean, one of them came back. When I say call, I mean that sickness, disease, famine, war, all these things take a chunk out of our populations, and it doesn't matter. We'll still have the same issues we've had before because people are going to continue to reproduce. It is not until we get on the same playing field and understand things. If we want to continuously live in a relatively peaceful existence, it starts with, first, wellness, mental health care. I'm going to always say that. And education. And when I say education, I mean that we take literally, there's so many pretty butterflies flying by. I'm sorry, y'all. We take literally all of the religion out of our schools. I said what I said. Here's why. When we place our belief structures within our educational system, sometimes there is a lack of health. When I was growing up, for example, we had sex ed. We did. But it was always tempered by some kind of dogmatic doctrine. In other words, abstinence was more of the forefront of talking and educating than it is perfectly normal as a teenager to experience sexual needs. But how you do that? How do we do that from a standpoint of mental health and wellness, while also understanding that there are biological things going on that the person has no control over, and it's not something to be shamed about? How do we do that? Well, we can start by talking about the basic points of view of protection, diseases, potential diseases, the long-term ramification of those, the stigma attached to some of that stuff as well. Then talk about, okay, emotional needs you would have if you engage in these activities. What could potentially happen emotionally with real life scenarios, not you going to hell if you fornicate. That has never worked. It's probably never going to work because biological needs will necessitate action, especially with an immature mind. So just because it's immature doesn't mean it's dumb, literate, does understand danger in some forms, in some sense. Come from that perspective, making it clear that our population growth is not predicated on money. Like, we shouldn't be saying to our children, our children's children, that we need you to make more people so we can grow the biggest GDP. That's one of the things that's been coming out of the pipeline lately that I've been seeing in news stories from time to time, that people are not having enough children. You know what? Have you seen the world and what's going on with it? Maybe it's okay right now to take a little break from that because money is not the biggest thing that is most important to all things. Maybe we can make money less important and people more important. Just like a tad more important than money in our GDP. Because we don't even treat our farm animals right, but we are not farm animals. It's okay for a population decline to happen, especially when we have such vast amounts of problems that need to be solvable. Okay? I don't see the point of growing the population when the population within a couple of generations, if that, will be all mentally ill because of trauma. Persistent and consistent trauma. So let's understand what makes sense and what don't. What don't make sense is to continue to encourage people to have children when we haven't solved gun problems. What don't make sense is consistently encourage people to have children when we haven't solved homelessness, unhoused issues, What don't make sense is there's not a livable wage across the board for all people. Like, as long as we keep them down, they'll never get up. I understand the process. You're always going to want to have slaves. I know, I see it. I know everybody else sees it too. At this particular point, I've been seeing this since I was a child. It's really irritating, but at this point, it's a relief to know that more people are paying attention to the new slavery. Livable wages is not going to rise someone out of being on the lower level of economic freedom. The only thing that rises you out of that is not necessarily more money by itself. It's tenacity, hard work. What is the word I'm looking for? Give me a moment. Mercury, still Mercury. Ambition. If that person wants more. But if they're content in their circumstances, they will always be content in their circumstances, but at the very least, it won't be a burden on society because they're not making enough. Those who won't work or can't work will still be in that position. But those who are willing to work should be paid enough to be able to pay all their bills and eat at the very least. We should be encouraging people to have more babies until we can do that, or until we're willing to do that. We already have Second Amendment rights. There's absolutely no reason why people should be afraid that someone's coming for their guns. Maybe, just maybe, when a politician starts talking about that, that's akin to shouting fire in a crowded theater. That is currently illegal. That's not part of our free speech. But whenever you say that, people who are unstable potentially are going to go out and get more weapons because they fear lack. They're expressing that lack is going to happen and someone's going to come for their guns. Let me tell you something. Those of you who may hear my voice, which I don't know, I have some doubts to that, but if there are, those of you who are one of those people who are, gun loving, Second Amendment fearing people, if the government wants to come get your guns, they have enough firepower to come get your guns anytime they want to. This ain't no. So if they were going to do that, and there was something that was in threat of happening, it would already have happened. And even if it's in threat of happening, it doesn't matter how many personal weapons you secure for yourself. You will not be United States military if they choose to come get everybody's guns. It doesn't matter how many you get. So it's a foolhardy errand that some of these politicians are telling you to go do. You will not win. Sometimes you got to realize when somebody bigger than you. But the goal is not to take your guns. The goal is not to do that. But acting as if that is something that can happen while talking, like I said, is akin to screaming fire in a crowded theater. Especially when there's a lot of people who are afraid and fearful of that. And then we add mental illness and socialized constructs of hatred, bigotry, racism. It is a recipe for disaster that is continuously happening every week, every day sometimes. When do we become responsible for our citizens and each other? When do we start saying, that's not cute, that's not good, that's not right? What they're saying is not the truth. Because what they're saying isn't the truth. And Gen Z, come here. Y'all are the ones with the most powerful voices because people are listening to you. Y'all are the cool kids right now in the front of the class. Well, the back of the class, but still. I haven't been on social media like that, like talking about it, for months now. The most I do is come on here and post a video and I don't even look at it back. That's how much I am tapped out of it. Being exhausted from it for the last 5 years. Over it. But I know I have to come back. There's a part of me that just has this feeling in my gut that doesn't feel quite right about it. Responsibility and obligation are two different things, but they go in the same gumbo pot. But I believe, based on what I've seen, you're capable of using your voices to create change. One of the reasons why I feel comfortable going chill somewhere and sit down somewhere. Sorry, butterflies. Y'all got this. Being able to use my mind to do the work that I've done has been exhilarating, beautiful, and exhausting. There are times I feel like my spirit was tapped out. But I don't have to work alone, I see. At least I saw. I would hope that the challenge to Gen Z is to use your voices to not just hold politicians accountable to your social needs, but also the social needs of the children that are coming behind you. Because y'all already laid the foundation to make sure that all people are welcome, more people are heard, things are more equivalent no matter what you look like. So maybe it's time to use your voices to make sure that we don't have as many bullets flying in our neighborhoods, in our streets, in our schools, in our churches. Use your voice to make sure that there are more safe spaces. I know everybody was about getting the bag, including yours truly. Back in 2019, 2020, we all had to. Survive, thrive even, be happy. But my ask and challenge of you is to take these words and use them in whatever way you see fit, or take this subject matter and use it in whatever way you see fit. To hold everybody who has any amount of power accountable. It's all cute and dandy to go to a Taylor Swift or Beyonce concert and have your fun. But personally to me, these two people have the power to sway. And I'm cool with that. I've been knowing that was going to happen for quite some time, particularly with those two. For a long time ago, I chose Team B. But I've had some changes of heart on that. Still love sis. It's just there are some things that don't sit right with my spirit. But I think that the power and magnitude of the change and the waking up that she has done cannot be matched thus far. Gotta get props where props are due. But those of you who understand what I'm saying, people like that. I'm asking you to use your voice to. Now there's two of them flying in tandem. Oh my goodness, sorry. Use your voices. I know I'm squirreling a lot today. I haven't been in my park for a while. It feels like forever. But use your voices. We can create safe spaces for children. We can make sure that happens. We can create a normalcy that does not include bullets or guns. Because right now that's what it includes. Because if we do nothing, see, I don't just wax philosophically and spiritually on here. I also happen to be well versed in stats. And if the trend continues, within the next 20 years, there will be not one adult that isn't in some way emotionally traumatized or is physically or both traumatized by gun violence if we do nothing. And you might say, well, that's just the way it is. Well, if that's just the way it is, hon, I will remind you of what I said yesterday. Is that who you want to lead your country? If somebody's traumatized, it's no guarantee they're going to overcome that trauma and be well enough to be able to perform any kind of task that is crucial to our society. So if everybody traumatized in some kind of way, who running the country? You might say, well, Gen Z will be running the country. Well, Gen Z, are you all well versed in mental health care and wellness? Many of you are. Kudos to that. Getting more on top of that. Okay. But how well can you run it when everybody's sick? Up here, in the spirit, and it's physical. Damn GDP, it won't matter. It won't matter. This country will be in chaos. Why? Have you ever been to a mental health facility, inpatient? Have you ever looked at the rec room for any extended period of time? The inmates will be running the asylum. And I say, well, in 40 years, the inmates will be starting to run the asylum. And it's not even fair to even call them that, because it's not their fault. The children that are growing up today, it's not their fault that we're allowing gun violence to be supreme in this country. That we're allowing money, GDP, and reelectability to decide and determine whether our children are safe. All this power everybody keep claiming to have. How much power do you have? What can you do with that power other than grow clout and get the bag and get sponsorships? That makes you no better than the politicians you know that allowed this to happen in the first place. Another reason why I bowed out. Once them emails started to come every day, every other day, put this product on, say these things for 30 seconds. Look, I want the bag like everybody else, but I don't want it like that. I ain't even knocking nobody hustle. Get your money, boo-boo, because it's hard to get money out here sometimes. And don't tell me, I'm not going to tell you I ain't been tempted or wanted to do it from time to time, but like, there's some things bigger than us. Like, I'm willing at this point with my master's degree and my degree in psychology to go work at somebody's grocery store just to make some ends meet before I let some sponsorship tell me what to say on here. I'm serious about it. And I don't want to do that. I'm cute. I want to sit down. I've been working since I was 14 years old. Do you understand? That is 30 years of work. And when I wasn't working, and sometimes even when I was pregnant, I was working or going to school or both. Most people start in their 20s. I started at 14. I'm allowed to sit down somewhere. But I am willing to go in, pay my income by working 9 to 5, just so I can come on here and say to you what I want to say to you without somebody else telling me what I got to say because they put money in my pocket. And sometimes I feel like that's a stupid decision. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm always altruistic. I'm like, why do I keep bumping my head against the wall when there's an easier way of doing things? The easier way was created. At least the beginning of it was created in 2019, 2020. It was created because it was needed. And I'm not even using it. At least not no more. See, initially, I used to be able to say whatever I wanted to say, and I would just, I would get on them clocks just like that. Now I say this specifically so that we can get money. I know everybody's trying to get money. Advertisements is running our world right now. Ads, lobbyists, electability. And that's the world we live in. I'm not trying to completely change that. What I'm saying with my voice right now, this is me, is that some of us gotta take some time to use our voice, maybe, just maybe, to consider something other than ourselves. I don't believe for a second that some of us were given certain things so that we can be like everybody else. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I never 100% know. Maybe I've done enough. Biden went sit down somewhere. It was more than time for that to happen. Kamala's well on her way. He might think I just said a biased statement. No, because I'm an independent when it comes to registered voters. I'm going to go with whoever making the most sense for the most people. It doesn't matter who, Republican, Democrat, Independent, some other party. It doesn't matter. You might say you throw your votes away if you vote for Independent. I don't care. Whoever making the most sense is who I vote for. Doesn't matter what they look like. And it's not enough to make the most sense. I need to see a track record of making sense from this individual. And with their words, the long-term ramification of their words for everybody. Not just the people that I like. This is about what's fair for all. And not what's fair for all is not going to make everybody happy. I already know that. What's going to help all is not going to make everybody happy. Honey, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Made some enemies along the way too. But we in this bitch. We're here. We made it this far. Otherwise not. It is what it is. Feel how you feel about it. I don't even care no more. At this particular point. But I would say to you, we either gonna fix this or we gonna scrap it all. It won't matter. All the progress we've made over the last 5 years will not matter in 30 if we don't do something about this. And I ain't about wasting my time on my energy running in circles on a hamster wheel that's not gonna go nowhere. That's just me personally. And maybe y'all feeling some of the anger that's coming out at this time. I'm not gonna apologize for justified rage, but I have it. I don't feel comfortable just sitting knowing that I can speak. Just sitting knowing that I can do. There's a lot of kids that I still love and care about that I used to have as clients. And I imagine them growing up right now seeing all this and the impact it has on them. They're not even my biological babies, but to me they're still my babies in my mind. And we were trained to not get personally involved with our clients. It's hard to do that with children. And let me tell you something, I already knew that. That's why when I was in my master's program, I always said, I don't want no children. Don't give me children. Don't assign me to children. Don't. And then make plans and God laughs kind of thing. That's exactly where I ended up at with children. I was great at it. Still am. That's one of the reasons why I'm like, maybe it's time for me to go back and get my license again. I don't know. I don't know what the solution to the problem is completely. Like I know how to solve the problem. I'm not talking about for me personally. What kind of work do I need to do to help? And just put one foot in front of the other like everybody else. Because see me, I thought maybe I was getting to retire. And I get to luxuriate in being in this park and talking to y'all about life and how to navigate it a little bit more smoothly, hopefully. And talking to my future selves. And when I say future selves, we're always alive within someone if we procreate. I thought I was going to get out of here clean and free. Because my children was not looking like they were going to have children. So I'm like, okay, then I'm done. My work here is done. But one of them had the most beautiful baby I've ever seen since my own babies. And that's what I've been doing, y'all. Luxuriating in her company. Caring and loving on her. I still do my work with my clients, but she has been top priority. On top of resting and being in them streets sometimes in ways that I have not allowed myself to. Practically my whole life. I love to party. I love to have fun. But it's feeling more and more like less semi-retired-ish. More, I need to get my butt up and do something again. Let's see, 2019, I already got that call. I got the call when I was 11. I got the call again when I was 13. I got the call again when I was 15. Almost like a reminder, like you said on your phone. So when time got closer and closer, all I wanted to do was avoid it. I did everything I could to avoid it. I was trying to get fired, y'all. Trying to get fired. You can't get fired for some things, I suppose. No matter what you do. Maybe that's just a personal thing. Try to take my spirit so they don't want me. It's a lot of work, man. A lot of things to endure, overcome. And I already had to endure it so much. One of the reasons why I'm like, leaving social media, deuces, I did my job, outie. I can't help this damn hard. It bothers my spirit. And that's something so large that can be, that is fixable. It's so easily fixable. And some people might say it's not easily fixable when a few people in power don't want to fix the problem or do anything about it because it'll affect their money and their electability. I want to cuss right now, but funk those people. Do you understand? The only reason why I'm not cussing is because I want to make sure this message gets to the largest audience possible. And I care less if you follow me. I care less at this point. Tried that, I don't care. Take my words and use them as your own if you want them. If you have a platform large enough to be able to talk to somebody that talks to somebody that talks to somebody, go ahead and do that. I don't care. The idea of fame sounds exhausting. I just want the change to happen. I have incentive. It's not all altruistic. I have incentive. I have my army at home. I don't know who she's going to produce, if she's going to produce. But I want her to live in a world that doesn't look like the one that we have right now, that has the statistic that says in her world, the most likely thing that's going to happen to her is violence and trauma. Not happiness, not joy, not education, not love, but trauma and violence. Maybe that's why. I often ask myself why the one child that was adamant since she was a little girl that she did not want to be a parent is the one who gave me a grandbaby. Like, why? Why? That's so oxymoronic to me. And she gave me the most beautiful little bundle that I could ever imagine. Sometimes I think, oh, that was a little trick by the universe to make sure I stay engaged, because sis was ready to tap out, call it good, go to obscurity, and be left the hell alone. I have not been left alone a lot for the last 5 years. Well, most of my life, but the last 5 years has been a lot. And I'm perfectly fine with not doing a damn thing else after this election. But in this case, I have to do something. Even if it's just keep talking. I have to go and get my license back, even if I reach one. One person can make a gigantic difference, you know? MLK is invoked a lot, but what I think is the most important thing about that man, the lovely, perfect, imperfect human he was, that he was one voice. Who taught him? Who nurtured him? Who gave him that? It's not just universal God, divine energy. No. We all learn it from each other. Whether it be our mentors, our teachers, our pastors, our spiritualists, we are all learning something from each other as we grow. So if I get my license back and I reach one that would have maybe potentially harmed someone else in the future, then I did all right. Like I said, I'm a great therapist. Great at my job. I'm also great at this. I feel like I'm not doing enough by letting it just sit there. Even though there's a part of me that never wants to go back. So that's a decision I have to make. But if I'm challenging you, I can challenge myself. Use your voices. If nothing else, use your voices. One of my clients at one point said, when Trump was in office that he was zaddy because he gave us the little money. He threw us a little change when we were struggling. We were all struggling. First of all, some people got 2 checks, some people got 3. I got 1, I think. I'm not even sure. But not everybody got. And 2, you can't buy me. I am fully aware of all the other things that are going on. See, it's not moral imperative. There is a moral imperative, but it's not just a moral judgment that makes me feel the way that I feel. I could care less about what letter is in front of the name. R, D, I, doesn't matter. G, doesn't matter. What matters to me is who you are as a person. What you do. Are you capable of doing the job and doing it well? Are you capable of caring about everyone or just people that look like you? And I know not everybody understands why people feel the way that they feel about that, because you weren't raised in such a way to be sensitive to it. This is where sympathy comes in. Your ability to connect to another human being and see beyond yourself. Is something yours when you conquer it? I know it seems like I diverted, but not really. I was off that ship once that whole take our country back thing happened. It seems common sense to consider. When you say take, are you saying steal it again? The concept never really sat right with me. Then watching the downfall of any amount of peace that was cultivated during the previous presidency be destroyed in one term. And more people are distrustful of each other based on what they look like. But some of y'all got more money, and that was more important. I know money is important to live, but is money everything? I don't think so. I'm not advocating for one or the other, honestly. I'm just advocating for vibration, energy, dual. What is done? What isn't done? I already know every president has been in a specific type of bloodline since the beginning of our country. All of them are related in some way, but it's kind of like biological vibration that could be accounted for too in that situation. That birds of a feather flock together kind of thing. Biological symbiosis dictates that certain types will end up vibrating in the same arena. Go ask the biologist what I just said if you don't understand. Just like if you're a spiritualist or a therapist, if you're in a crowded room full enough people, if there's another one there, you'll eventually vibrate towards them. That kind of thing. Birds of a feather flock together. Not always the case, but typically that's what happens. So we can chalk that up to that. And I only say this because most people don't believe that our elections are fair. That everybody's picked ahead of time. Who knows? That could be or could not be. It doesn't mean that there's not still a popularity contest going on. They still want to appease the community. Regardless of that being a thing or not, they still want to appease the community in some kind of way. Different communities. Especially if they're large enough or have the large enough popularity and voice. That's where Gen Z comes in. And partially Alpha. But G needs to save Alpha so that Alpha can thrive on. See, us X millennials, listen. Y'all cute and sweet. But I don't expect a whole lot out of y'all. I expect y'all to be cute and sweet and be our supporting partners and supporting roles. Live in a supporting role, like a supporting actor, like the comic relief in a movie. This is not to insult you. I just don't expect a whole lot. But Gen X, hard heads, support Gen Z no matter how flippant and smart at the mouth they are. Because they are flippant. It's not at the mouth. So many times I've wanted to slap one of them. But I also find them to be incredibly beautiful. Even with the smart at it. Because I know I see myself in a lot of them. Even when they turn it towards me, I see myself in them. But that's how you love, though. Try to find you in somebody else. Because I done told people off a time or two whether they think they're my elders or my superiors or not. But I do think this is doable if we all work together and stop looking at the smaller things and look at the larger picture. And the larger picture is this. We can continue to go on like as if nothing is happening. Or we can do something about it because we're powerful enough to do so. I happen to know you are. I happen to know. Now, if I'm going to get up off my pretty little butt and do something I am uncomfortable with, I'm asking you to join me to do it too. Therapists, those of you who are capable and able, use your voices collectively. Have meetings, like community meetings. Like back in the day, they used to have the meetings, the backdoor meetings, not for some shady stuff, but to help the community. Long before we were born, the Underground Railroad was created because there were people who decided to make change when it didn't seem like that was a way to make change. And they created a passageway to help free people from bondage. And it wasn't just us. If it was just people with melanin in their skin doing that, it would have never worked. They got people who were allies to work with them. So understand, it's not about one thing or another. It's about community. If you are a therapist out there or someone who has some kind of platform, you can create these meetings, even if they're virtual. I said, what can we do as a community about this? On a legislative level, if you see, some people be writing their congressmen, don't realize they have political offices on the local and state level they can start with and then work their way up the chain like the military. Because that's how I did it. And I was telling y'all about the legislation that I helped create. Listen, I started on a local level with my local Congress people, and then wrote the letters upward. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I think they listened to me, because they saw that I started locally. I didn't go straight for sending a letter to the president. I went straight for my local Congress people. I talked to the different colleges and universities about this and worked my way up before that was passed. Looked at the law books, ethics books. What legally can I say here to help them understand a legal argument and why? And what can I say about the fiduciary loss that is occurring when this is happening? Make your statement and your argument sound, but make an argument. Say something. Do something. And any of the things that I've talked about today. Because it is palpable to those who care. And guess what? If it becomes popular, those who don't care, they're going to get on the bandwagon anyway, because they like to be seen. You know what I'm saying? They don't care. As long as they get seen, and that includes politicians. As long as they can get seen saying something popular, y'all make it popular by saying it. That was the point of giving y'all these platforms in the first place, I thought. So that y'all can actually create the change that you want to see. Create the world that you want to be in. Now, getting money and getting sponsorships and all that is cute. Get that too, boo-boo. I ain't even mad at you. But also this, a little bit, for me. You don't owe me nothing. Or maybe not for me. For them. Anyway, I've been talking at y'all for 50 minutes. I'll talk to you again soon. You have a good one. Your love.